See, the thing is, time won't make you mature. A strong personality, a strong character, and a strong identity is what maturity is. Not time. Age cannot make you mature. That's why you'll see some part of me being more mature than people that are 40 years old, 50 years old, that are complete degenerates. The reason is because they fall prey to something that makes their personality so weak. So, age can never make you a strong and mature person, but a false sense of identity can make you seemingly mature or mature enough to the point that a weak personality follows you. That's why most of the propaganda, like I said in the freedom of thought video, I gave you the analogy of school, right? One thing that I didn't mention is, who are the teachers? The board of directors are the people that make all the decisions, and the teachers have to comply to those decisions, so that you have to comply to everything that is a part of those decisions. Who are the teachers? Media, shitfluencers as I like to call them, news, celebrities. Those are the teachers. They're teaching you how to think because they get paid, they get endorsed. Their managers force them to talk about things like abortion, which I don't condone, by the way. Just for those of you that want to decide if you guys are going to stick with it, stick with me through it all, or if you want to leave now, yeah, please leave. I don't condone abortion, and I don't think it's a very healthy way of being a contraceptive in any way. And if you're using it as a contraceptive, I don't think you should be sleeping around either. I'm just going to say it as it is. They'll get celebrities, media, news reporters, shitfluencers to promote all this stuff, and they'll push their content on algorithms, on all social media platforms, so that that's the voice that speaks out most to you. And then you're like, okay, well, if that person has 7 million followers, it might be for a reason. So why don't I just follow him as well, or her, or whatever the hell it is? Just follow that person. And then they corrupt your feed, and then they have fan pages that reproduce most of their content and whatnot. And that's why a lot of fame is gate kept. And there's a few people that didn't have gate kept social media accounts. But any which way, there are also weak personalities that are being controlled by stronger personalities. That's why you see most teachers don't really give a shit about the kids, because they're getting paid at the end of the day. There are very few teachers in the world that actually care about teaching kids and the well being of kids. I was actually talking about this to one of my friends and a fellow teacher that he was with, because his dad is in, he's basically the principal of a school. And I said, this is why I didn't ever like the educational system. Because when I started drinking in middle school, high school, I naturally found myself starting to drink with people that were older. And when I did that, some of them ended up being teachers, and they'd get blackout drunk on the weekends. And then on Monday, they'd show up and they'd be like, oh, kids, today we're go to chapter 17. We're going to learn about statistics or whatnot. Basically, I've seen that. I've seen the way teachers can be so corrupted in their own life, so unstable in their own life, but they're infused with just a false sense of security and strength in and through money or just a job, that they don't want to compromise the way they like to live their life, drinking and being degenerate. Like, there's another teacher that they were all talking about, and another kid from the school was also on the call, and he said, oh, we have a teacher, she's very moody, she can flip on you within a minute. Like, she'll be all gung-ho, kumbaya around the fire, and then she'll shout at you the next minute. That's a very weak personality. I wouldn't want to ever entrust the minds, the hearts, the souls, and the spirits of my children to an adult that's that unstable. The instability in their mind means that they're not fit and viable to teach younger minds. That's why I also don't condone school. I've seen a lot of teachers do a lot of jacked up shit, and by the end of it, I'm like, yeah, sorry. I'd rather homeschool my kids. I'd have tutors that I can vet personally, even if they're half assed in their understanding of a subject. And if they can just teach the subject generally, I'd rather have them teach. But the strong personality and character and good morals and principles and values, I'd rather have them teach my kids. I'd rather have private sessions where my kids can learn how to box, because that'll help their mind. And when they learn how to do boxing and all this type of stuff, they learn more about the reality of who they are, and they can have a stronger personality in themselves. I enjoyed it. When I started boxing, when I started sparring, I realized how strong it gave me a sense of self too, further than what I had already had. It pushed the limits of my sense of self and the strength and solidity that I got in that. And I'd figured that if they have a general understanding of other things, then I'd rather just have them teach my kids at home. Because I don't trust most teachers. And in fact, I'll say it as it is, most teachers are degenerate these days, especially. Like a lot of people tell me, oh, if you get married and if you have kids, Miraz, are you ever going to put your kids in the American education system? I said, hell no, not at all. If they want a social life, I'll give them a social life. But there is no way in hell that they're ever going to have a life in school. Not in public school, not in private school either. A lot of teachers are just degenerates. And the schools want it that way. My grandfather talks about this more, about how there needs to be an education revolution because a lot of the basis of education and educational boards in private Ivy League colleges started 2-3 centuries ago, some even 4 centuries ago, and it corrupted the way school started to teach kids. And they took the Bible out of it. Started with the board. They had Unitarians, deists, people that are basically not Christians because they're so confused in their own faith. They became the principals, the deans, and they sat in the board of directors of all these Ivy League colleges. And first they plagued colleges, so they took the Bible out of college. And then there was a person called Horace Mann in 1804. He openly declared that the Bible should not even be mentioned in school.